Hi, I'm Jeff Ludy, the owner of Houston Window Experts, and today I'm talking about 10 things you should know before you buy windows. This is the number one thing. Sleep on it. Yes, sleep on it. Don't get rushed into making a decision about buying windows. You know what? Some people sleep more on where they're going to go on vacation before they make a decision than they do on buying $50,000 or $500,000 worth of windows. And it always just baffles me, like, why would that be the case? Well, I figured out why. There are some really creative marketing people that will come to your house, and I like to call them a little bit sleazy. In fact, check out my video about sleazy salesmen and how to avoid them. And they'll come to your house and they'll spend 3 hours there and they'll talk to you about their wonderful window and how they're the best window company in the world. But then they get into this stuff about, tonight I've got a big 40% sale. Oh, I'd hate for you not to buy tonight. If you don't buy tonight, that 40% goes out tonight. In fact, when I walk through that door, sir, my deal goes with me. And they'll take a $50,000 project all the way down to $25,000 to try to get you to buy tonight. Here's the other thing they'll do. They'll say to you, you know what? You buy tonight to not lose this great deal, and I'll give you 3 days to change your mind, and I'll tear your check up, or I'll send it back to you if you don't want to do this. Well, it sounds like they're being really nice and generous, but they're not. That's actually a federal law. It's called the 3-day right to rescind. Don't fall for that. It's crazy. They'll also talk about you can get 48 months, 0% financing, but it goes away when I go away. You know why those guys say that? I found out the other day. I interviewed one of those guys, and he told me that when he goes out to make a sales call, if he doesn't sell it that night, he won't get the commission if they buy later. It'll be transferred to another sales rep. So these guys, they have commission breath, and they're hungry, and they're doing everything they can to get you to buy a window tonight. I'm telling you, forget everything else I might tell you in the other 9 points. If you don't get this, you're in trouble. And the answer is sleep on it. Don't buy tonight. Hey, if you're looking for a great window company near you, check out jeffslist.com. We have a list of great window companies all over the country. So, number 2, compare. Remember number 1, I talked to you about the guy who shows you the window and he brags about it. It's the best window in the world and all of that. Listen, there are about 1,800 brands of windows in the United States today. You can't just pick the first window you see. I would never buy cars without comparing other cars. I'd never buy a TV without comparing TVs. In fact, I didn't even marry my wife until I compared her to other people. Now, she should have done a little more comparison when she decided to marry me. And by the way, we've been married 40 years now, so it does work that way. But you need to compare. And that's one of the dangers that people have, is they don't stop long enough to compare. So, for example, we have over a dozen brands of windows, right? I mean, I have vinyl windows. I have wood windows with aluminum exterior. We have aluminum windows. We have composite windows. Having choices, having a showroom is a great thing you should do. Now, don't just compare windows, compare the companies that you might be buying from. What kind of record do they have? What do their Yelp reviews look like? What do their Google reviews look like? Do they have an actual brick and mortar building? You don't have to have a brick and mortar building to be a good window company, but usually the most successful ones need a place to house their staff. They need a place to warehouse their inventory. They need to have a showroom to display their products. Those are things worth comparing. And don't just compare the person you're buying them from, compare them also on the area of their process. How do they take the windows out? How do they put the windows in? Is it a slow and go construction, or is it a smash and dash? They say this: skilled labor isn't always cheap, and cheap labor isn't always skilled. And that's something to beware of. So that's number 2, compare. This is number 3. Question everything. Just because somebody tells you to make the best window in the world, just because they tell you, oh, we have W-2 employees, not subcontractors, doesn't mean you should believe it. Check it all out. If you're going to buy windows from somebody and they make claims or promises to you about what they can do or what their window can do, don't just believe it. There's so many deals out there that sound too good to be true that maybe they are. So let me give you a couple examples of things that sometimes you may need to check out. One of them is companies will say that I have W-2 employee crews instead of subcontractor crews. Now let me clarify. A subcontractor crew does not mean that they're bad. When I first started my company, I couldn't afford to have full-time crews that I would pay whether it's raining or not raining, or whether I had jobs to install or no jobs to install. So I know what that's like. And actually, I had great crews, which is how I built my business. But if they're claiming that that's what separates them from the competitors, You should ask, I want to know who can verify this for me. Another thing they might say is, we've got insurance to cover you in case we get hurt. Ask them to send you a copy of their insurance policy so you can review it. A lot of them will say, oh, we've done thousands of jobs in your neighborhood. Oh, really? Can you give me a couple of addresses I could drive by and take a look at? Sometimes window companies will come in and show you a window sample, and they'll say, this window has an amazing rating for solar heat gain. I've got something you need to watch. I'm going to put the little tab up here so you can click on it and watch it next. And it talks about how to understand and how to read an NFRC sticker. That's a sticker on the wall of the window, on the inside of the window that tells you what the actual ratings are for that window. I've had people buy windows before and they ordered a window that they thought met this energy criteria, and when they got the window installed, they realized that all the stickers were missing on the window. Well, when they went back and investigated, they found out that they did not get the window that they purchased. So question everything. Question everything. In fact, I tell people when they're looking to buy windows from me, don't take my word for it. Go to BBB. Go to Yelp. Go to Google Reviews. Call my list of references. Come to one of our job sites and watch us work. Come into our warehouse. Look at our 26,000 square foot distribution center and sample the windows for yourselves before you buy. So this is number 3. Question everything. This one I really like. It's have a budget. Have a budget. You know, most people either overspend on windows or they underspend on windows. So starting with a budget, at least having something in mind and thinking about what it should cost will help you not make a mistake of buying windows that you paid either too much for or too little for. Let me give you an example in everyday life. So have you ever gone to the grocery store and you were hungry? What happens when you go to the grocery store and you're hungry? You buy stuff that you wouldn't have bought if you just had a big, delicious meal right before you got there. Well, here's the thing with windows sometimes. Salespeople will come in, they get you all excited and look at this window and it's kind of really appetizing. And next thing you know, I want to buy some new windows. And you end up spending way too much money on windows. The opposite is you're looking for the cheapest deal. You keep shopping, and you just keep thinking that the budget dominates everything. Well, it doesn't dominate. It's a guideline, it's framework. I've seen people buy really cheap windows and then they have to buy them again. You know, there's a saying that says, never enough money to do it right the first time, but always enough money to do it twice. Ooh, don't let that be you. So listen, put a budget in place. Check your budget against other window companies. Make sure that you're not taking the highest bid or the lowest bid. Usually the best deal is somewhere in the middle. Oh, and last thing about that, don't forget that skilled labor isn't cheap, and cheap labor isn't skilled. Run number 5. Get the details. Look, I've seen window companies give quotes where they just write on a sheet of paper and it says 10 windows, $10,000, but they don't give you any details. Details are important. Like you need to know who's going to put in the window, and do I need to take the blinds down and the curtains down, or are you going to take them down? Who's going to put them back up? How are you going to protect my flooring? Oh, by the way, this furniture, who's going to move the furniture? Do I move it? Do you move it? Oh, and tell me, what kind of caulking are you using on this? Oh, tell me, do you use foam around the perimeter of the window? Oh, excuse me, but do you have insurance? These are details that you need to know before you're making a decision. A lot of companies just tell you it's an energy efficient window. Well, compared to what? So did you know NFRC stickers, and I have a video about that, NFRC stickers tell you what you need to know about a window. So you need to say, I need to see the window. You need a detailed proposal that clearly tells you what brand of window it is, what model the window is, what kind of glass you're getting. Is that glass tempered? What color is the window? What grids are you getting? These are details that you should absolutely know. And if you don't know, ask a lot of questions. Speaking of asking questions, when I first moved to Houston, Texas, a friend of mine said, hey, Jeff, I don't know if you're interested or not, but a friend of mine in Cleveland has one of those great big projector TVs. Remember the projector TVs that had like the lights inside? It came up on that screen. He said he's got one. It's absolutely free if you're willing to drive to Cleveland to get it. I said, Cleveland? Who would drive all the way to Cleveland to get an old box TV like that? Then I found out there's actually a Cleveland, Texas. I'm glad I got clarity on the details. By the way, I didn't pick up that TV in case you want to know. But we have a Cleveland, Texas. We have a Paris, Texas. And we have a lot of things in Texas that are also confusing if you don't understand the details. Hang in there. Yes, hang in there. You know, here's what happens. A lot of times you get a lot of information, you see a lot of window companies, and you get conflicting information. That's the real problem, right? So if you heard the same thing from everybody, then you just pick the company that you felt the most comfortable with. But it's kind of like brand A is competing with brand B, and they'll say, we're better than those guys. And those guys will say, no, we're not. And of course, if you're not comparing them side by side, it's really easy to get confused. A national study that came out a few years ago, I was just fascinated by this. They said that 83% of the people who drop out of the window buying process drop out due to confusion. Are you confused yet? Oh my gosh, there's so many decisions to make about something that maybe you've never done before. So I say, hang in there. Don't step back so far that you quit the whole process, because it'll be worth it in the end. The windows aren't going to fix themselves. But step back enough to say, let me reevaluate what I have. Or maybe just take a break from the window thing altogether. There'll be more windows later on. But hang in there. It's kind of like college days, you know? It's a lot harder than high school, if you remember. But by the time you graduated, you're like, I'm comfortable with this. Why? Because you understood the process. You had more experience. You had more knowledge. You became familiar with the process and the things that you needed to learn. The same way with buying windows. So don't get in a rush. Don't wait forever. Don't overanalyze. Don't underanalyze. But whatever you do, don't quit. Hang in there. Number 7. Do I pay cash or do I finance? So, okay, here's one of the things that a lot of window companies will do to try to reel you in, right? You've looked at their windows, you've looked at their prices, you've compared, and then you've questioned everything and you've investigated it even further, and they want to sweeten the pot. I've seen offers that you wouldn't believe. Like, there's a company right here locally that says you can get 48 months, 0% financing. Oh my gosh, 48 months, 0% financing? Well, no, it's because you have such great credit. No, it's not. It's because they bake the price of the financing into the cost of the window. By the way, you'll probably notice that company that had 48 months financing, they were the highest bid you got. Well, you know why? They included the interest rate in there. They had to buy the rate down to 0 in order to do that for you. Now, what's the benefit to paying with a check or cash over financing? Well, most window companies like us, we offer a discount if you decide to pay with cash, a check, versus say a credit card or financing, because there are costs associated with financing. But we do know that sometimes people need financing, but predatory financing? No, that's not good. It's deception. It's not something you want to do over a long period of time, because it'll really, really cost you up front. In fact, think about it. It usually costs about 18 to 20% to give you 4 years. If you took the 20% from a window project, let's say it was $20,000 out of $100,000, and you put it into an interest account earning decent money for 4 years, how much money would that be? That's exactly how much money you spent and how much money you lost. So here's what I want to tell you. I had a solar company come out to my house. I was just curious about solar, right? The largest solar company in the United States since went out to my house. And they kept talking about, we have a 2.99% rate. And I started investigating that further. And I said, did you have to pay to get my rate lower? They came right out and said, yes, we had to pay the finance company to get it lower. I was surprised they even told me that. But then I started doing the math. And you know what? They said it's a 25-year loan. And they started at $86,000. When they were done to $40,000 if I was willing to write a check instead of finance. I got to thinking about it. That same $40,000 in an interest account at 4% was more money than they were going to save me over 25 years in my light bill. So you got to think about these things. Before you make a final decision, think about, do I finance or do I pay with a check? There's benefits to both, but don't get the predatory financing. I think you'll regret it. We're on number 8, which is fall in love. Yes, fall in love. So listen, you've done all the comparing. You've decided what window company you think you're going to buy from. You've compared them to other companies. You've even done all the details, the research, looked at the references. Now it's time to fall in love. And what I mean by fall in love, well, a lot of people fall in love with a window before they fall in love with a window company. And that's actually backwards, because buying a window is only a part of the process. Who's going to install the window, who you're going to trust is important. And that's why you should fall in love with a window company. So listen, Dale Carnegie, he says, if people like you, they will listen to you. But if they trust you, they'll do business with you. Actually, we have that on the wall in our conference room. Why? Because yes, it's nice for people to like us, and that's what gives us a chance to maybe visit about windows, but nobody bought windows because they like me. They bought windows because they trust me. You need to trust this window company. They're going to be in your home. They're going to be out of your home. If you don't trust them, if you haven't fallen in love with what they can do for you, what do they say? If in doubt, do without. So fall in love with the window company. Now, I made that mistake one time on my pool. My wife and I bought a house. It had a nice pool, but you know how the water can be really hard in Houston. So it had all this scale buildup. We didn't care for the tile. Plus my wife being an interior designer, she wanted to kind of make the pool colors her own. So guess what we did? We fell in love with the pool colors. We fell in love with, we're going to put this tile here and we're going to do this plaster there. And we did all of that work. But you know what we forgot? We forgot to fall in love with the pool contractor, the guy who did the work. He was not what we expected, and it was like pulling teeth. And even to this day, in fact, last week, we reached out to another pool contractor to fix his work. And I'm so embarrassed to tell you that. It wasn't even about saving money. We just fell in love with the pool products before we fell in love with the pool company. So don't do that, okay? Fall in love. We're on number 9. We're almost there. So if you've watched the other videos, we've told you a lot of things you should do, right, before you get ready to finally pull the trigger. But before you pull the trigger, one last tip. Negotiate. Yes, negotiate. Now listen, some window companies won't have much margin left, and there won't be much negotiating room at all because they started fair and honest with you. That's the way we do it. We believe in being honest and transparent and treating people the way we'd want to be treated. So if somebody says to you, well, you know what, I know you want a better price. I can save you a couple $100s, or I can save you 1 or 2% more, or maybe I can save you 5% if you'd write a check because I don't have to pay credit card fees, things like that. That makes sense to me. But if somebody can give you 10% off, they can probably give you 20% off. So be careful about that. Now here's a suggestion for you. Watch a video I made called 7 Ways to Save Money on Your Window or Door Project. There's a little tab right here. You can click on that and add it to your playlist. Because there are some ways to save money before you buy windows. Like for example, one big window sometimes costs less than 3 small windows that fit into that same opening. So a lot of times we convert 3 little windows into one big one, and that saves money because it saves us time. And like the window companies, it's kind of like buying a pizza, right? Like, would you buy 2 medium pizzas or 1 large pizza, right? You'd probably buy 1 large, unless of course this person likes pepperoni and that person doesn't. But saving money on your windows can be done through editing the project to where it fits all of the needs you have, but maybe it also saves you some money because of some of the things that we can change in your window project. So if you're willing to negotiate and you don't feel like that's hard for you to do, you should get up the courage and do it. We get it all the time, and there's times we can help, there's times we can't. So one last thing I want to say to you is, maybe sometimes if you're looking at a window project, you should also consider doing all the windows. And I know you're going to say, well, that's coming from a window company. I know it is, but listen to what I have to say. Window company prices have been going up between 7 and 10% every year since I've been in this business. And during COVID, we had one year that they went up over 30%, okay, over 30% in just 1 year's time. So if you're going to need windows, you're going to need windows. And so if you're going to do just one phase at a time, I'm going to recommend you do 1 whole wall at a time. Please don't pick 2 windows here and 1 window there and another window back there unless they're a perfect match. If you're going from single pane to double pane, you will see the difference between single pane windows and double pane windows from the street at 20 miles an hour. So think about not breaking it up into phases. If the finances are there where you can afford to do it all at once, that's also going to save you money, because the more windows we install, the more efficient we are, the more money you save. Okay, the more you buy, the cheaper they get. You buy enough, you get them all free, right? One of those deals. Number 10, celebrate. I mean, if you've done the other 9 things I've told you and with just a little bit of pixie dust and all that, you should be happy. In fact, at our company, we call it the installation celebration. You've waited sometimes for months, right, to get these windows in, and you're so excited, and now they finally have arrived. It's like Christmas at your house, and people are putting in the windows, and it's just such a celebration when it's done right. Now look, people can make mistakes, right? We make mistakes. We're not perfect. It is construction. I used to own a restaurant. We used to cook sometimes 100, 200 steaks a night. If you cook 200 steaks a night, you're going to get one wrong. It's how you deal with a mistake that really matters. So I say celebrate and say thank you. You know, one of the biggest jobs I ever sold to probably maybe one of the wealthiest clients I've ever had. I thought it was pretty cool. Every morning before he left to work, as my employees were coming in the door, he would stop and shake everybody's hand. Thank you. Thank you for your work. Thank you for your work. Thank you for your work. It's something about having appreciation. And I hate to use this word, but attitude of gratitude. You've heard that before, right? And say thank you, but also, if you feel really grateful and impressed with the work, go online and say something about it. You know, a lot of people will go online and they'll just make a complaint. And you know, I've got a few of those. And by the way, we earned them. We made those mistakes. We deserve it. But just like sometimes you might decide it's easy to go complain, it's not any harder to go and say something nice. Especially when you're dealing with people who've treated you well and treated you honestly and fair. All right, so that's number 10. Celebrate. Hey, by the way, if you're looking for a great window company near you, check out jeffslist.com. We may know someone in your area. Thanks for watching and have a great day.